Each year, we select 3 Tillman Scholars to offer a short presentation on their research and work. These are known as Make Your Mark Talks, and these conversations highlight the range of fields and communities in which the Tillman Scholars make an impact. And this year, our scholars and our speakers look at the parallels between elite athletes and military veterans, the need to include behavioral analysis in the financial planning, and how to support older adults by combating ageism. While these are disparate topics, one critical theme runs through them, and it's the importance of supporting people through transitions and change. So our first Make Your Mark talk will be presented by Dr. Karen Gallagher, who's a 2016 Tillman Scholar and an Army veteran. After completing her doctoral degree at ASU, go Devils, Karen joined the Global Sport Institute, where she is now a senior researcher. Her work focuses on elite athletes in the post-sport journey and how it aligns with the experiences of military veterans in the military to civilian transition. Karen joins us today from her home in Arizona. Karen, we're so very happy that you're here with us today. And here is her talk, The Game Will End.
No one prepared me or Brett Favre for leaving the game. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does a 5'1" woman have in common with a Hall of Fame quarterback? My foreclosed identity, of course. When I left my all-girls Catholic high school and ran away to join the Army, I didn't just leave my life behind. In a lot of ways, I left myself, my civilian self. I took on a new identity, one that was necessary for my success, my survival. Yes, I was still a short girl from SoCal with a sardonic sense of humor, but that's a description, not an identity. My identity became soldier, paratrooper. Like many of you, I underwent intense training to transform every facet of myself into a soldier. Deploying further invested me and further bonded me to my Army sisters and brothers. Whether you served 3 years or 30 years, your entire adult identity becomes this military identity. But military service ends. It always ends, and it's always hard. Some of us didn't want to leave the military, but had to for one reason or another. Some of us couldn't wait to ETS, counting down the days with a short timer's attitude, to the sheer annoyance of anyone within earshot. 18 days and a wake up. Yet almost none of us found this so-called freedom easy or resembling anything we had imagined. I call this the trauma of freedom. I'll explain. I lived this struggle in my own transition. I went from front line to front door and enrolled in college where I promptly got lost. I spoke to no one. I didn't relate to them. I wasn't one of them. I didn't feel like I belonged. The traumas that we experience during military service can be buffered by the strong bonds of sisterhood and brotherhood and the high degree of structure that provides some predictability. Once removed from these intense relationships and meaningful service, veterans can often face delayed consequences, affecting their health, their cognition, their overall wellness. Instead of preparing these veterans for inevitable feelings of loss and uncertainty, we wait for the consequences and then attempt to treat those consequences. Now, don't get me wrong, I am grateful for the strides we're making in mental health treatments. That work needs to continue. But the trauma of freedom is also real. Transition from military service is inevitable, yet we do little to prepare women and men for this emotional experience, for what's coming, the sense of loss and uncertainty, and that sense of loss and uncertainty is normal. So what does all of this have to do with Brett Favre? I mean, the fame and monetary gain obtained from high-level athletic achievement seems like a far cry from the modest nature and modest income of military service. However, my research has shown that though these two pathways seem very different, they intersect strongly in how they affect identity and in how they end. Elite athletes typically take on their identities as athletes at a very young age. And that identity follows them throughout their lifetime, and it forecloses their thinking to life after the game ends. I mean, I have heard professional athletes and coaches talk about needing the athlete to remain exclusively invested in their identity as an athlete as a necessary component of winning. I mean, how can we have them think about leaving the game in the very moment we need them invested in believing that they will continue to win and succeed? This fusion of who they are with what they do does not prepare them for life after the game. And the game will end. It always ends, and it's always hard. When it ends, either military service or elite athletic careers, there's a sense of loss of bonds, of sisterhood and brotherhood, loss of purpose, and ultimately loss of identity. Yet preparation for leaving the military or elite level athletics is focused on more concrete components like accessing benefits, financial management, or vocational pursuits. There's little to no preparation for the social emotional elements. See, I would never send somebody to a totally unfamiliar place, wait for them to get lost, and only then send help. So why don't we prepare military service members and athletes for this foreseeable, inevitable transition experience? What if we gave them the map up front? What if we normalized it? My work focuses on developing measures to better understand the impact of uncertainty and loss of identity and variables that can impact growth and wellness in veterans and transitioning athletes. For example, I have found that in both of these populations, higher tolerance for uncertainty predicts some really important things like grade point average, better decision making, less anxiety, higher wellness scores. If we understand which factors promote resilience and which predict poor outcomes in transition, we can develop structured pre-transition programs that prepare individuals and normalize the transition experience. For example, in medicine, we talk about discharge starts on admission, right? We start preparing patients and planning for their next level of care as soon as they're admitted. The British Army does this. They prepare for discharge on admission. We need to advocate for planning our civilian futures as soon as we start becoming our military selves. See, you may not know when the game will end. You may not even know it has ended after it has ended, but you do know that it will end, but you won't end. Let's start handing out the maps.